This is your daily briefing, and you are most welcome to it. This COVID business to do with the World Cup qualifier thing is rumbling on and on and on, and a further complication because it would appear. Now, the situation is, I'll just get through this so we all understand. FIFA are behind making the players travel, and they have threatened clubs with actions against them if they fail to release players for this tournament. So that's why the players have gone. It's not just because they're on a jolly and they've gone AWOL. There is, as always, with the money-making machine of FIFA, the threat of sanctions if you don't comply. Brazilian health officials, however, are now poised to visit the Argentina soccer team on Saturday to investigate whether their English Premier League players broke the COVID-19 quarantine regulations ahead of Sunday's World Cup qualifier against Brazil. The Argentina squad flew into Brazil on Friday, the day after beating Venezuela 3-1 in a World Cup qualifier in Caracas. But the problem is that under rules published by Brazil's health regulator, Anvisa, visitors who have been in the UK for 14 days before entering Brazil must quarantine for 14 days. So this just makes a complete mockery of the entire situation. We've got players that are now should have been isolated for 14 days prior to getting in the aeroplane, and then once they come out of the aeroplane, they're free to go where they want. If they test negative, they play their football, and then prior to coming back to the UK, or rather once they're actually on terra firma in the UK, they then have to quarantine for a further 10 days. So if you stick 24 days of inactivity, and that includes not training properly, because certainly as far as the players arriving in the UK, they're not going to stay at Hotspur Way. We've already covered that. They'll be in a government endorsed hotel, so like I've said, they'll be in a B&B in Southend or whatever the hell's going on, and it just now looks as if the whole thing's utterly unworkable. I have a feeling, because football always seems to find a way around these things, I have a feeling that this will get brushed under the carpet and there'll be some sort of VIP amendment made to the whole thing. But it just shows you what a fiasco. They should have rescheduled this, because clearly the world hadn't caught up, and all these different nations are at different places when it comes to this wretched COVID thing. And you just can't carry on and just shout business as normal. Brazil are without 9 key men for this game against Argentina. And other South American sides have also lost players because some clubs in Europe simply have refused to let players travel. Elsewhere, the number one fans are in trouble. Our friends Paratici and Hitchen. A source speaking to the Sun newspaper says it just doesn't sit right with the players. The substitutes on the bench don't feel they're able to speak freely amongst themselves with those guys sitting next to them. I've got to say, I have, from the word go, I think it's a bit of fun. You've got these guys leaping around and effing and blinding and come on and all this sort of thing. But when you've got it, especially as well in the work environment, there's always a them and us. That's the way it operates, and it's vital that you do have a them and us. Otherwise, the whole thing would just be a free for all. But if you've got guys who are playing staff, and they're in their coaching gear and their training gear and their kit, and then they've got guys in suits, shirts, and ties or whatever next to them, who are jumping up and down and expecting to, high five and fist pump simultaneously, and to join in all this animation. It's a very different kettle of fish to the business of your mate that you train with and you might share digs with or whatever. It's a totally different thing, and I can imagine that there is actually some substance to this, and it is making people feel a bit uncomfortable. The players as a whole, the quotes go on, the players as a whole don't like it when the two of them are on their feet shouting at match officials or at the team, but they will have to put up with it until at least October. It is understood that the pair are on the bench because of the Premier League's pandemic protocols require all players and staff in the red zone testing pool to be seated together in designated areas. The league is hoping we'll be able to modify the regulations next month. And again, this is another one of these sort of half-arsed, ill-conceived bits of, you know, protocol or management ideas that all of the players go together. And with the CEO of football and all the rest of it, I just think it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'd never bought the idea of those two. You know, yeah, it was quite jovial and they're getting stuck in and a lot of fans definitely be looking at it and going, "Well, great to see the passion." But it's like those situations in the workplace where you have motivational stuff going on, and I think we've all suffered them in the past. And you'll have certain characters who really get into it and are really like, "Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. And who wants to draw a thing? Oh yeah, I brought my pens." And these are the people that you don't bond with really outside of the work environment. They don't come to the pub. You don't involve yourself with them socially. And the whole thing is just a bit kind of duplicitous. They're kind of snake oil salesmen. And I having those two, if I had those two wrapped around me on the subs bench, I wouldn't feel comfortable either. I have to say, a lot of reaction to this on social media was, "Oh, it's the Sun." Which is fine. If you don't like a certain newspaper, great. But I happen to believe that fans are a lot blunter than that and less nuanced. And if the Sun was leaking fantastic information that made people want to cartwheel, they wouldn't care where it came from. But one guy did say he and Hitchen shouldn't be on the bench shouting at players like fools and giving instructions. It's not their role. And that's what I think is a fantastic comment. They should be doing what they're paid to do, looking at and for new players, and they're undermining the manager as well. Again, if I was Nuno, and you've got these two clowns who technically are higher up the food chain within the company, screaming and shouting instructions. I mean, if the guy in front of you at a football match spends the entire game leaping up and down and shouting, "Cut inside," and pass it, channels. You know, we've all been stuck with those people at football matches. And they're a nightmare, but in a sort of comedy way. Because you go out the stadium, you hopefully never see them again. But if you've got to face these guys, and you're then going to get, trust me, you're going to get feedback from them. Can you imagine Steve Hitchen and Paratici say, "Well, I'll tell you what, Daniel, I mean, obviously, you know, we were on the subs bench on Saturday, and I can tell you that we felt blah, blah, blah." It's not their job. It's not their job. It's like having those two in the kitchen, you know, at the canteen or the restaurant or whatever they call it, Hotspur way. The chefs wouldn't want them doing anything. No, I'll just bring the potatoes in. No, I don't want you in here. Just go. And I think we'll finish up. Oh no, we've got some World Cup qualifier stuff. We've got it. These interlulls, they're killing us, aren't they? World Cup qualifier. Right. So Hugo Lloris conceded a goal in a 1-1 draw against the Ukraine. I've got clips of that on theboyhotspur.com. Pierre Hojbjerg featured for just 7 minutes against the Faroe Islands, and that game ended 1-0 to the Danes. Matt Doherty played 81 minutes against Azerbaijan, where he managed to get one shot on goal, which is off target, plus 65% of duels won, which was an improvement on his mean average of 54.1%. Troy Parrott also played the same game, where he managed one shot, but it was on target, but his total successful actions of 42%, and that really is rather meagre. I think we'll finish on Jamie Carragher's business, the soccer aid thing, and he didn't appear to, he definitely put his heel into the Love Island kid behind him. It's very easy to pile on in these situations and just start calling people names, and the popular one is vile. That people always, the moment somebody's branded as being vile, I'm pretty much convinced they aren't. It's like a go-to sort of repulsion in language. But this guy, Love Island winner Kem Ketene or whatever he was, who knows what was said? There can be appalling things said between guys, and you never know. Carragher might have just wanted to put him in his place. He didn't die. I don't think we need to involve the police or anything, do we? And England play at tea time tonight, which is 5 p.m. UK time. So that's your lot for today. It is a little bit thin, and I apologise for that, but I only bring you what I can. One comment I will make, and as I stop shuffling the papers over the mic, one comment I will make is that maybe I haven't done enough detective work here, but it's really tough getting clips of these games. They're just not, they're blanket blocking them all worldwide. So I can put some stuff on the blog, but there's stuff that just YouTube will just spit out, and that's fine, I totally understand. But what are FIFA playing at? Do you actually only get to see your own team play if your nation has bought it? And if you wanted to watch, say for example, Parrott and Doherty against Azerbaijan, which I'd be quite interested in watching that game, is it on TV? I mean, I haven't, like I say, I haven't done any in-depth watching, but it would be great for just fans, generally speaking, who don't have subscriptions, that they were able to just watch clips on TV. And I don't think it's something dangerous that would destroy the economic model of the tournament. I mean, it's a qualifier, for goodness sakes, you know. But I just think, you know, this whole business of the football family, football pyramid, but if you're not signed up with somebody, you get to see nothing and you're totally cut out. Just me, but I just think it's a little bit unfair. Right, that's your lot. Good luck. And remember, keep it Tottenham.